Ferdinand Keat and Ranger Thawkins trained for hours a day during the last leg of their journey to Monument of the Fallen. Although Ferdinand was far from giving the Master Ranger a run for his money, he was able to capably handle himself in both a melee fight and even better with a bow. Thawkins had remarked a few times just that morning that the boy might have a chance in a real fight now. Walking over the ridge, two men saw the split bridges and a small village. "Is that it?"
"No, but it's close. We'll stop here. I need to write a letter."
The two men found a small adventurers guild and saddled up to a table near the back. The waitress was a young girl, no more than 17, but if you looked closer, you could see there were some hard years behind her eyes.
"What'll it be? You pay first here."
"Where is here?" asked Ferdinand while digging for his coin purse.
"You wouldn't know it. No one does."
The girl sighed and glanced out the window.
"It's called Hound Summit."
"Indeed? You have lots of dogs here, then?"
"Not dogs. Garrick Hound was the first one to call this land home, and, egotistical as he was, named it after himself."
"Do you know him?"
"Nah. He died years ago, but I know his grandkids, and they're as pompous as he ever was."
She glanced out the window again. Was she waiting on someone?
"Now, if you fine gentlemen have decided."
2 ales, paper, ink, and a quill, please. And I'm sorry for my young companion talking your ear off."
Thawkins was grinning a bit and winked as she turned away to fill the order. "She's nice," remarked Ferdinand, still watching her walk away.
"We're just here to send a letter, boy."
"Who are you writing to?"
"Rangers need to send back mission reports to the Rangers Guild in case something happens. Another ranger can pick up the contract and finish it."
The girl delivered the ale and handed Thawkins his requested writing equipment.
"One of the first and maybe most important parts of being a ranger is we always finish our contracts. Once you take one on, it's yours until it's completed, or you are."
Thawkins started to write, and Ferdinand got up to go find that girl. Ferdinand Keat and Ranger Thawkins left Hound Summit and made the last day's journey to Monument of the Fallen. Walking over a small ridge to see the portal and statues for the first time simply took the boy's breath away.
"This is amazing,"
whispered Ferdinand, mouth agape.
"It is. Fitting tribute."
The ranger's usual gruff voice was softer this morning. Each statue was a tribute to a single man who had crossed the threshold, venturing into the nether, knowing it was a one-way trip. They were likely to be killed as soon as they entered the Hell Dimension, but even if they succeeded in breaking all the obsidian portals, they would be destroying their only way home. There would be no returning to their families.
How could they do this, leaving everything, everyone they ever knew behind?
"The war was as good as lost, kid. When the elves and dwarves abandoned us after Talatal, it was only a matter of time."
"So, could we do the same thing?"
Ferdinand's mind was racing.
"Could we send in a party to break all the obsidian portals and trap them in the nether once again?"
"It was tried."
Sighing, the older man, starting off a path, heading towards one of the newly constructed statues.
"When word of the invasion spread, a group from Kalal opened a portal in the mayor's basement of all places."
Laughing at the sheer insanity of opening a portal purposefully.
"Only moments after phasing into the nether, only one scout returned. His wounds were far too severe for him to live, but he told of unbelievable fortifications surrounding the portal. We shocked them once with a suicide mission, but it won't work again."
Ranger Thawkins stopped in front of a statue with the nameplate, Verbar Thawkins.
"My kin. Some 30 generations ago, he left his 3 sons and wife to go save the world."
Touching the statue's hand, he bowed and whispered a prayer of gratitude.
"Thawkins, is this war over already?"
"Maybe. But in Selea there may be someone who knows a way."
He looked past Ferdinand, squinting a bit. Smiling with a nod, he greeted an approaching man.
"Sage RIKON, good to see you again,"
Ranger Thawkins said with a tight-lipped smile. The lanky man, wearing a traditional Order of Man garb of white robes, strode up, extending his hand.
"Thawkins, it's been ages. How have the roads been treating you?"
"They're fine. Long journeys, but safer than our days in the wilds."
"You call these days safe? We just barely escaped with our life."
"You don't need to entertain the sage with tales of our journey, boy. Trust me, he's seen more in his life than you'll ever want to."
Thawkins gave the younger man a look that silenced any objections.
"My overly eager young friend is Ferdinand Keat from Port Bray."
"Your contract or apprentice?"
Thawkins looked over the boy.
"It was my contract, but I'm not sure yet, apprentice."
Ferdinand's eyes widened as he opened his mouth to react. Sage RIKON laughed.
"Come with me. My wife will make you something to eat."
The trio made their way across the field from the statues and the monument to the fallen to the town proper. RIKON pointed out some things about the village, how when he had first arrived there, the village had been regularly raided and didn't even have walls for protection. Since starting his library, he now has an average of 8 students per day coming in to study and learn in the ways of the Order. After a short time of some small talk, they sat down in RIKON's kitchen.
So, my friend, why are you here? Not that I'm not happy to see you, but you didn't make this journey to know the state of my little town.
I have a contract to find Celia.
RIKON pushed himself back from the table, leaning back in his chair, whistling.
Celia. No outsider has journeyed to that city in an age. During the war, they welcomed immigrants, feeling like amassing an army would be the way to fight the Nether, but since,
he nodded out the windows to the statues,
they closed their borders.
Thinking for a few seconds, RIKON took a bite of bread.
Your contract must be a big one to come out here and venture into the ice plains.
The biggest I've seen.
Wincing, RIKON nodded.
With the king, then, there would be no way out.
Ferdinand's eyes widened. The king? King Danao? He could hardly believe it. You know him?
RIKON laughed. Know him? Thawkins trained him and his father, and some say his father before that.
How old do you think I am?
Oh, old enough, my friend, old enough.
Thawkins had alluded to his age a few times in the couple months Ferdinand had known him, but he couldn't be older than mid-50s. But to train 2 kings, he must carry the weight of the years better than anyone Ferdinand had ever seen. Thawkins got up.
Excuse me, seems I don't hold my water as well as such young men.
After he was safely out of earshot, Ferdinand leaned in and whispered to Sage RIKON, How old exactly is he?
He's never said, but when I was a younger boy, younger than you even, I met a man outside in the southern wilds. He saved me and brought me back to civilization. But that day, all those years ago, he didn't look a moment younger than now.
Ferdinand's mind was reeling. Sage RIKON had just alluded that his friend, Ranger Thawkins, might be very old, even though he appeared no more than in his 50s. Thawkins rejoined the duo, halting any chance for a follow-up question.
We need to find Celia.
That may be difficult. Many years ago there was one clear path to the Ice City, but since then their territory has grown with the power of the tree. The road has become twisted, confusing, missing.
Sage RIKON of the Order of Man clearly knew so much, but that made sense since the Order's main mission in the world was to collect information.
If only you had come a few months back.
Sighing, the sage took another sip of his tea.
I had a certain artifact that would have led you to Celia.
The Arrow of Thenea.
Thawkins nodded.
You know of it?
Sage RIKON was clearly shocked, putting his cup down on the table.
How?
RIKON, why do you think I'm here?
RIKON sighed, shaking his head.
Just when I think the Order are the master of secrets, once again a ranger sets me straight.
Thawkins laughed.
The Order has its secrets, and the Rangers have theirs, but this one was mine. I never included it in a report.
Rangers report nearly every detail of their contracts so that if they are unable to complete one, another ranger can step in and finish it. To not include such a huge detail as the location of an artifact was unheard of.
If word got out the simple sage in a small hamlet had an artifact, it wouldn't be in your possession for long.
Thank you, my friend, for your protection, but it is not in my possession in any case.
Thawkins frowned and leaned forward, putting his hands on his knees.
What happened?
When I first arrived at Monument of the Fallen, they were such frequent targets of raids from pillagers, but I convinced them to build the wall and strengthen their defenses. But before it was completed, my house was raided and the arrow was stolen.
Where are these pillagers now?
Not far from here, but without the manpower to attack them, we've been at a stalemate. We repulsed their last several attacks, and they haven't been back in weeks. When the arrow was missing, I sent word to the Order that we need assistance, but without being able to tell them why, I don't believe I am a priority.
Well, it seems assistance has arrived. We'll go tonight.
Thawkins and Ferdinand stood up to prepare. My friend, Sage RIKON said, reaching his arm out to touch Ranger Thawkin's elbow, there may be a few men who would be willing to help.
If there were, why didn't you go after the arrow of Thanea as soon as it was stolen?
Thawkins was immediately annoyed.
These men here, they think of me as just a simple sage. A man of words and letters, not action.
Please, you survived as a boy in the southern wilds for years before I found you.
Perhaps I neglected to mention my prior life to them. In any case, they certainly would follow a ranger, especially one as decorated as Chief Ranger Thawkins.
Former.
Excuse me? Chief Ranger? What rank is that exactly, and how have I never heard of this before? Ferdinand was, yet again, shocked to learn something new about his friend in this conversation. Laughed Sage RIKON.
This man was Chief Ranger of this territory long before you were even born.
I gave that up, and in any case, this is besides the point.
Thawkin's annoyance was growing by the second.
Where are these men?
The trio left RIKON's house and walked to the potato fields in Monument to the Fallen. There, they found 3 more men working the fields.
Gentlemen, please, a moment.
The farmers placed down their hoes and moved to the edge of the field. RIKON introduced them as Quarley, Hin, and Okel. Seeing their eyes widen at RIKON's introduction of Chief Ranger Thawkins made Ferdinand smile. After a short discussion, they decided they could trust the ranger and their friend, the sage. It was agreed on to leave the following morning. The bandit camp was roughly a day's ride away from Monument of the Fallen, and the party, thus, grew to 6. Hi folks, thanks for watching the Lore of Vasten episodes. I know these are a little different. You know, these are still, it's still a recap from stuff that happened earlier in Season 3. I have one more recap episode of Ferdinand's story. Then we're going to move on to the new stuff with Ferdinand. I'm going to complete his story all in a row, so it's easier to follow, then go back. So if you're enjoying this, hey, leave me a comment. I love that stuff. It really helps me know how to tailor these to what people like. I've been making these a little bit longer too, just to make sure that they all get in, because Season 3 is kind of wrapping up. We're getting close to it, and I want to make sure both Ferdinand and Father Chody get their stories finished before we move on. So leave me a comment. Also, special thanks to my patrons well, they're probably gone by now, but they were listed over there. Patrons and YouTube members, you make all of this possible. I could not do this without you, so thank you so much. We'll see you next episode from the Realm of Vasten. Bye, bro.